Resident Evil 5 might actually be Capcom's next choice for a remake. And here's why. If you've finished Resident Evil 4 and the new Separate Ways, you know that Capcom is playing with the idea that RE5 is going to be the next remake coming. And I think it could be a smart decision. Before we get started, yes, I would also rather Code Veronica get remade or even Outbreak. But RE5 looks like it's next on the block. There are some huge reasons that I would like to see it remade. First off, I don't know about you guys, but after playing RE7 through RE4 Remake, I am craving some real multiplayer action in the RE engine. And no, I'm not talking about the asset flip, reverse, or Project Resistance. I want an actual RE engine game that I can play with my friends in PvE, not PvP. I've always imagined some really cool multiplayer Resident Evil things, like, for example, one of my dreams for RE2 Remake was defending the police station with your friends like Call of Duty Zombies, but like over the shoulder, RE2 Remake style. You make your own cop, there's a ton of unlockables. It would have been so sick. Or maybe dropping down with your friends into a fully infected Raccoon City, fighting bioweapons together. Like, just give me some Resident Evil game that I can play with my friends. So one of the obvious reasons for Capcom to want to remake RE5 is that despite popular belief and many clickbait articles, RE5 is still the highest selling Resident Evil game of all time when you combine all ports and forms of sales. And yes, I'm aware of the monthly Kotaku and IGN articles saying RE7 and RE2 Remake are the highest selling RE games of all time, but when you actually click on those articles, it'll be like, it's the highest selling Resident Evil game in December of the year 2022. It sold the most Resident Evil copies ever. It's not really true that they're the highest selling. RE5 is still the #1 in numbers. So let's say they go through with RE5 Remake. Here are some things I would like to see, and some improvements I'd like to see for the game. I would love to see a more horror aesthetic like they tried with Resident Evil 4 Remake. I think one of the biggest things classic fans didn't like about RE5 OG, that it was sort of a shameless full-on action game that completely left horror in the dust. Besides maybe the liquor section in the lab or maybe a couple other parts of the game, it wasn't really meant to be scary. It would be super interesting if we could explore more of the main village at the beginning of the game, or get to see villagers slowly turn as opposed to all unleash at you at the exact same time. If they're gonna still make it into an action game, I would love if they would at least slowly ease into the action this time around, as opposed to bombarding you with another defense section similar to Village in RE4 Remake. Adding some heavy horror sequences into RE5 is definitely the best way to approach making most RE fans happy. I think they should also really put a ton of effort into making the partner AI way better. One of RE5's other downsides is that if you wanted to play it by yourself, it was brutal. Like, having to rely on Sheva's AI made the game not nearly as fun as if you're playing with a friend, because at least if you or your friend are playing badly, it could be funny or it could still be entertaining and fun. But when your partner AI is constantly getting you killed in areas, it just feels terrible. We got a taste of what partner AI could be like with Resident Evil 4 Remake when we get to play with Luis in the mine section and when we get to play with him again in Separate Ways. Luis's AI is decent, but there are definitely still some kinks to iron out, and I think if they implemented Luis's AI exactly how it is to be Sheva in RE5, it would be another disappointment.
Little rough, don't you think?
Also, on the topic of characters, I get giddy just thinking about an RE Engine Sheva and Mr. Chris Redfield in the RE5 timeline. Capcom has been absolutely killing it with characters in the RE Engine games. From the new and improved Mr. X to shaggy-haired Carlos. I think every character for the most part has been getting a massive glow up, and I'm super pumped to see what's in store. Alright, so I know the biggest question people are wondering, and the most controversial one about RE5 Remake, and some people think this is why it would never happen. The big ol' setting. Now, Resident Evil has always been about going to a certain country and slaughtering the natives. Whether it's RE1, 2, and 3 when you're killing Americans left and right, or it's RE4 when you go to Italy and kill all the Italians.
Mamma mia!
I'm just kidding, I know it's not in Italy. Or RE6 when you go to China and many other places. RE5 goes to Africa, and it wasn't well received by some people back then, and it probably would be even worsely received this day and age. That is like the one huge thing that I don't know if they would completely change the setting or what they would do about it. Maybe they'll just go through with it and place it in Africa again, or maybe they'll make up their own fake location. I'm not sure, but I honestly don't think it's a huge problem. They'll do what they gotta do to make the game. But what do you think? Do you think it'll still take place in Africa? Do you think they'll make up a fake setting? Let me know. One of my other biggest hopes is that they take the treasure system from Resident Evil 4 Remake and they add it and expand upon it in Resident Evil 5. In the original RE5, the treasures felt sort of like an oversight, like a downgrade from RE4 original, where they're just sort of there and then you get them and you sell them and that's about it. But I loved what they did with RE4 Remake, where there's this little mini game of mixing and matching the colors and the type of gems. I would really hope that they take that exact thing and just expand upon it or give it some little tweaks and add it into RE5. I think it would make that aspect of RE5 way more fun. And also, on top of that, I hope the game gets a real merchant. I think it was also a downgrade for them to go from the iconic merchant from RE4 just to staring at a menu and doing your menuing and shopping just in the main menu screen. If they added another cool merchant, or even took the RE4 merchant somehow, or the Duke, or something, just give us something, I think it would be amazing. Overall, I think Resident Evil 5 could be an amazing remake, and I'm warming up to the idea of it being done. At first, when we watched the ending of RE4, I'm like, oh man, are they really gonna do RE5, especially before Code Veronica? But now that I've thought about it a bit more, and I got to play separate ways, I do think Resident Evil 5, regardless if it's now or way later down the line, after RE9, after Code Veronica, after Outbreak or Revelations, whatever, regardless of when it is, I think eventually it could be amazing. Just thinking of the RE engine gameplay with a friend gets me super excited. And if they fix all the issues RE5 had and all the things people didn't like, there is an amazing game to be remade there. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think Resident Evil 5 deserves a remake? Or what would you change? What would you add to the game to make it more enjoyable for yourself? Like if you disliked the game because it was too action-packed, then you like more emphasis on horror. Or if you hate multiplayer games, then you'd never like it if it was multiplayer. You'd rather it be single player. Let me know what you think down below. Thanks for watching, guys. Just one thing before you go. On my stream all month, this month of October, I'll be playing horror games every single day, all day. That includes some Resident Evils, maybe some mods, some Silent Hills, and many other horror games. I'll have my schedule in the details down below, and I will see you next video.